Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube class. In this video, we are going to discuss about the elements of the function. There are three elements of function: function prototype, function definition, and function call. Let us try to understand what is a prototype, what is the function definition, and what is the function call with the help of an example. Suppose if we want to build some house, what we do to start with? On the paper, we draw the map of the home. How does the home will look like? This is the kitchen, this is the bedroom, this is the living room, and so on. This is just a map, and this we use it to build a home. This is the design. In the same way, the prototype is nothing but the design of the function. It says to the compiler that how does the function looks like, what input the function is going to take, and what is the output that we expect from the function. The next thing is the function definition. Function definition is nothing but building the home. In the same way, function definition is writing the actual code so that the function can carry out the task. Now, what is a function call? Say for example, we have designed the function on the paper. We have built the home. Now, it is the time to use the home. Now, the using of the home is in the same way, the using of the function is nothing but the function call. Function prototype is the design of the function. Function definition is the implementation of the function, and function call is the use of the function. Now let us discuss one by one about the function prototype, function definition, and the function call. Let's see about the function prototype. What is a function prototype? It says to the compiler the design of the function. Now what do I mean by design of the function? It says what input the function is going to take. Input are nothing but parameters we are going to discuss in some time in function call. And it says the what answer, in what format the function is going to give the answer, that is the output. Now how do we write the function prototype? There is a general syntax. Let's see the general syntax of the function prototype. General syntax of the function prototype. First we write the return type. Then we write the function name. Here we write the parameter list. Now we will see what are the parameters. Now how do we write the parameters? We say data type. It can be any data type. Let me call it as data type 1, variable 1, comma, data type 2, variable 2, comma, dot dot dot, and it can be data type n, variable n, and at last you give a semicolon. Let's see what does this function prototype says. Return type. Return type means after the function computes the answer. Say for example, in the previous video we have seen 2 plus 3 is 5. Now we know that the answer given by the calculator when we say 2 plus 3 was 5, and 5 was the integer data type. It says, the return type says, after the function computes something, it will going to compute something. It may find area of circle, addition of 3 numbers, print n natural numbers, print a Fibonacci series, find if a number is prime or not, like that. After it completes its execution, in what format it is going to return an answer. Now this return type can be int. This return type can be float. It can be double, char, void. It can be any pointer. It can be struct. It can be union or any other data type. Now what does it mean if I say the return type is int? It means after the function completes its execution, it's going to return the answer in the form of integer. Which integer? Any integer. The next thing that we see over here is the function name. Now what is a function name? A function name is any valid variable name. Now what are the rules for framing variable name in C? It should begin with underscore or alphabet. It should not begin with digits. It should not be a keyword. Keywords are reserved words. And it should not contain any special symbols or space. It should not contain special symbols or space. This is the function name. Next is the data type. Now this we call it as input to the function. This we call it as input to the function, or I can call it as the parameter list. This is the general syntax of the function prototype. Now let's try to understand this prototype in detail by taking the examples. You may pause the video over here and write this function prototype. Thank you. Let us try to understand the function prototype with the help of some examples. The syntax of the function prototype is, as we have seen, return type. It says in what format the function is going to return the answer. It does not say that 2 is answer. It says that it returns the answer in the form of integer. It does not return the answer as character A. Rather, we write it here as char, saying that this function is going to return the answer in the form of the character. Next is the function name. It is any valid identifier name. Then we have input to the functions. Let's take an example. I can write an example as int sum int a comma int b, and semicolon at the end is mandatory. What does it say? It says that sum is a function which takes any 2 integers as input. These are the parameters, which takes any 2 integers as input. Let me call it as parameter, which takes any 2 integers as input and returns the answer in the form of integer. Now what does it mean? Does it take only A and B as input? No. It can be any 2 integers. It can be C and D, where C is some integer, D is some integer. It can be 4 and 5. It can be 4 and X, where X is some integer. Now in function prototype, you can skip the parameter names. That means the same prototype, I can write it as int sum int comma int. Now what does it mean? These 2 prototypes are exactly same. It also says to the compiler that sum is a function which takes any 2 integers as input and it gives the answer in the form of integer. This is the return type. It gives the answer back in the form of integer and it takes any 2 integers as input, and where sum is the function name. We'll see some more examples. I hope that you have understood it. You may pause the video and make a note of it. Thank you. Let's take the second example for the function prototype. If we write double mean int comma int comma int and semicolon at the end is mandatory. What does it mean? It says that mean is a function which takes any 3 integers as input. This is very important. It can take any 3 integers as input. Any 3 integers may be 4, 5, 6. These are integers. It can be A, 4, B, where A and B are some integers. It can be X, Y, Z, where X, Y, Z are some integers. it does some computation, and while it returns the answer in the double data type, in double format. What double number? It can be any double number. It can be 0.0, it can be 4.3, it can be 9.8, it can be any double number. So how do we read it? Mean is a function which takes any three integers as input and it returns the answer in the double format. Thank you. Let us now take the third example where we want to write a function prototype for factorial of a number. How do we write it? First we write the function name. You can take any function name. Here we have taken the function name as factorial. And what is the input for this function? I can say 3 factorial, 0 factorial, 1 factorial, 9 factorial, but there is nothing like 0.5 factorial, 9.3 factorial. That means the range, the domain of the factorial is integer. The domain of the factorial is what? Integer. That means factorial is a function which takes any integer as input. Now this is any integer. This is for us the domain. The domain of the factorial is integer, which takes any integer as input and returns the answer. What is 4 factorial? 24. 5 factorial? 120. Now you never say that 120.25 is the factorial. But when I take the large number 25 factorial, 20 factorial, that cannot be stored in integer data type. The maximum value that I can store in integer data type is 10 power 9. Therefore, we take the return type as long int. We take the return type as what? Long int. Now this is codomain or range for us. This is codomain or range for us. Now how do we read it? We say factorial is a function which takes any integer as input and it returns the answer in the form of long integer. This can be further redefined. How we redefine it? There is nothing called as minus 3 factorial. There is nothing called as minus 5 factorial. And we know that this integer always has to be a positive number. Therefore, we can write it as factorial is a function which takes any positive integer. And how do we write positive integer? We can write it as unsigned int. Now this unsigned is a keyword. Now unsigned int means it takes only positive numbers. It do not take any negative numbers as input and it returns the answer in the form of long int. And it returns the answer in the form of long int. I hope that you have understood it. Please pause the video and make a note of it. We'll see some more examples. Thank you. Let us see the next example. Suppose I write a function like this, fun. Here I write it as char double int and we write the return type as void. How we are going to understand this prototype? It says fun is a function which takes 3 parameters as input. Now these parameters should be in one-to-one correspondence. It says the first parameter has to be a character. It cannot be a double number. The second parameter has to be a double and the third parameter has to be integer. These parameters should be in one-to-one correspondence. And it does not return any answer if the return type is void. It means function does not return answer. Function does not return any answer. How do we read it? We say fun is a function which takes 3 parameters as input. The first parameter has to be character. Second has to be double. Which character? Any character. Which double number? Any double number. And third parameter can be any integer and it does not return any answer. When we say the function does not return any answer, if the return type is void. I hope that you have understood this. Please pause the video and make a note of it. And we will see some more examples. Thank you. Let us see the next example. Suppose if I write void as the return type, function name is init, and here I write it as void. What does it means? It says that init is a function which does not take any input. A function can take greater n. If I call it as n is the number of parameters, it can be greater than or equal 0. Whenever I say greater than or equal 0, that means a function can take 0 or more parameters, 0 or more input. Init is a function which does not take any input and it does not return any answer. The same function prototype can be written as void init, and if I do not write anything over here, it is as good as void. It is as good as void. Init is a function which does not take any input and does not return any answer. I hope that you have understood this. And next we are going to see, we will give some statements like write a function for prime number and all, function prototype, I'm sorry. Then we will see how do we write the prototype for it, and we will justify it why we have written that particular prototype. Thank you. Now let us write the prototype for the following. A function that receives character as a parameter, or you can say as input, and it returns the answer in the form of an integer. Take the function name as toASCII. Before you see the solution, I want you to pause the video and try to write the prototype for the same. Okay, yeah. What is the function name? First we write the function name. Function name is toASCII. Here we write the input to the function, a function that receives character as an input. Therefore, here we write char because it takes character as an input, only one input. We give semicolon, and it returns answer in the form of an integer. What should be the return type? Return type is integer. Now we say toASCII is a function which takes any character as an input and returns the answer in the form of an integer. We'll see some more examples. I want you to write the function prototype for function that receives any real number as input or parameter and it does not return any answer. Take the function name as volume. Yeah, please pause the video and write down the prototype for the same. Okay, yeah. What is the function name? First we write the function name. Function name is volume. Function that receives any real number. Normally real numbers we can represent it as float or double. We take it as double. Function that receives any real number as input and does not return any answer. Therefore we say void. How do we read it? Volume is a function which takes any real number double as a parameter and it does not return any answer, and if it does not return any answer, return type has to be void. Let's write the function prototype for function that receives two integers as parameters and it returns answer in the form of an integer. Take the function name as max. How do we write it? What is the function name? Function name is max. How many inputs it is taking? It is taking two integers as input. Therefore, I can write it as int comma int. What does it say? Max is a function which takes any two integers as input and returns the answer in the form of integer. Therefore, what should be the return type? Return type has to be int. How do we read it? Max is a function which takes any two integers as input and returns the answer in the form of integer. Let's write the next prototype for this following statement. Function that receives integer and real number as parameter. That means the first parameter has to be an integer and the second parameter has to be a real number. We know that an integer is also a real number, but they have specifically said that the first parameter has to be an integer. Therefore, what do we say? The first parameter is integer. The second parameter is real number represented by double data type. This is the input to the function. The next thing is, and it returns the answer in the form of a real number. Take the function name as volume. Therefore, we write the function name as volume. And what should be the return type? It is in the form of a real number, and real number is represented as double. Therefore, we write volume is a function which takes the first parameter as integer, second as double number, and it returns the answer in the form of double number. Let us write the function prototype to check if a year is leap or not. Now, year is 2023, 2025, 2020, 2017, 2011, all are integer data type. Therefore, if I want to check if a year is leap or not, I need an year. And year is of what data type? Year is of integer data type. It takes input as integer. And what we need to take the function name as? We have to take the function name as isLeap. Now we say isLeap is a function which takes any integer, it means year, as an input, and it should return the answer. What it should return the answer? It says if the year is leap, return y, else return n. Now we know that y written in single quote and n written in single quote is of what data type? Can you fill in the blank for the return data type? Yes. What should be the return type? Return type is char. Now we say isLeap is a function which takes any integer as input and returns the answer in the form of character, and semicolon at the end is mandatory. This is the function prototype. This is the design. It says to the compiler that we have some function called as isLeap that the user is going to write, which takes any integer as input and returns character as answer. Let's see how do we write the prototype for the following. We have to check if the number is prime or not. That means I have to take some number and check if it is prime or not. If the number is prime, we return 1, else we return 0. That means the return type is integer because it is 1 and 0. 1 and 0 is of what data type? Integer. Hence we say return type is int. What is the function name? Function name is isPrime that they have given. Therefore, we write here isPrime. And what is the input to the function? I need to check if a number is prime or not. Now we need to know the domain for the prime numbers. It is always integer. Real numbers, I mean 2.5, 3.2, double type cannot be prime. Therefore, input for this function is integer. How do we read it? isPrime is a function which takes any integer as input and returns the answer in the form of an integer. Thank you. These are very two important points. The maximum value that a function can return is 1. A function cannot return more than one value. Maximum is 1, minimum is 0. If it is 0, we make the return type as void. That means the function does not return any answer. And maximum value the function can return is 1. If you want to return, if a function wants to return more than one answer, then we make the return type as void. Say for example, we want to print first n natural numbers. Now n can be 5. That means the first 5 natural numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Can I return all 5 answers? Not possible. Because a function can either return 1 or return 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, but not all at the same time. Therefore, whenever we cannot return the answer, or if there are more than one answer that the function has to return, we make the return type as void. I can take any function name, say for example natural, and it takes integer as input. Now integer can be 5, it says print first 5 natural numbers. It can be 6, it says print first 6 natural numbers, and so on. And we make return type as void. This is the first choice. Or, now what is the first 5 natural numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. These 5 numbers I can put it in an array, or we can put it in a list and return that array or list. How it is that possible? That we are going to see in the arrays chapter in detail. As of now, if a function has to return more than one answer, we make the return type as void, or we make the return type as void when the function does not want to return any answer. A function can return maximum of one answer. Yeah, just to summarize it, in this video we have seen the elements of function, function prototype, function definition and function call, and we have discussed in detail the function prototype. In the next video we are going to see what a function definition is. Thank you friends for watching my video. Please like this video, comment how did you find the video, and share the video and the channel with your friends. Thank you.